the Father and Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. I wish to express my gratitude and appreciation for the production of this deacons training video, which is produced by Saint Mary and Saint Verena Church. I thank Father Joseph Bolus, the deacons, and all who participated in producing this video. It is actually respond to a real need in our church to train our deacons, especially the young deacons, how to actively participate in the liturgy. Not only to know the hymns, but also how to follow all the rubrics and instructions during the liturgies, how to bring the incense in the right time, how to prepare the altar at the beginning, how to and to know when the time the priest is going to wash his hands and how many times to do it, and how to help in the liturgy without the need of telling them during the prayer what to do. This led them to enjoy the liturgy and also to keep it quiet without any giving instruction during the liturgy. I wish all the deacons to watch this video, to learn it, and to follow the instructions in it, and also to be used by all our churches. And we will include in our exam for the candidate to be ordained as a deacons also to be examined about how they can fully participate in the liturgy and knowing the hymns and knowing also how to be helpful to the priest during the liturgy, because the role of the deacons is to help the priest. May God bless this work and to make it of a benefit for everyone, not only the deacons but also for the people to know what is going on during the service and also the meaning of all these movements during the liturgy. God be with you and God bless you, and glory to God now and forever. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. We thank God for the completion of this work and the encouragement and introduction of His Grace Ambasarapion, the Bishop of the Diocese of Los Angeles, Southern California, and Hawaii. I would like to add my voice to His Grace Ambasarapions in thanking the deacons and the congregation of St. Mary and St. Verena, Anaheim, for their support and prayers regarding this project. Also, everyone who has contributed to the success of this work. We also thank the congregation of Holy Virgin Mary in Highland Park for the use of their church. We also thank all the priests who have reviewed this work and contributed with their advice. Finally, on behalf of all of those who may benefit from this work, I thank the beloved servant who has worked very hard and contributed with incredible talent. The Lord will reward you 30, 60, and 100-fold. May the Lord use this project as a tool to help the deacons participate in the liturgy fully through the prayers of His Holiness Pope Shenouda III and His Grace Bishop Serapion. And glory be to God, now and forever and ever.
Please be aware that the first part of the video taped the Matin prayers. However, the same movements are followed for the Vesper prayers. The earlier part of the video explains this clearly. So when you are studying the tape with the liturgy book in your hands, just follow the page numbers and notes for the Vesper prayers and the Matin prayers.
While watching this video, you will notice that there's a specific liturgy book used. This training uses the standard liturgy book, published by the Diocese of Los Angeles and the Southern States Diocese. If you don't already own the service book, you may obtain it from any of the churches in those two dioceses, or you may obtain it with this course.
The best way to benefit from this training video is to watch 35 minutes of instructions first. Then make sure you have the liturgy book on hand and pause the DVD or video at the appropriate times for notes to be written on certain pages. The instructions are presented in a casual way, intentionally, so that you may find them easy to follow.
We have been using this system in our church for several years. You will notice that it gets easier with time. At some point, with lots of practice, you will get used to this system and no longer need the instructions. However, it is important to review your notes every once in a while to make sure you did not get accustomed to bad habits.
Welcome back. Let's get started. The deacon, as he's entering the church, he does several things. The first thing you notice is as he is walking in, the church is kind of empty. That's because the deacon really should arrive first and prepare everything before the priest arrives. You noticed also that the deacon, as he is walking in, he makes a matanya, a full matanya, as he is saying a verse from Psalms 5:7, saying, "But as for me, I will come into your house in the multitude of your mercy. In fear of you, I will worship toward your holy temple." Then the deacon will get up and say, "Our Father who art in heaven." After that, he gets up, he takes his place, and he starts preparing things such as the books, the candles, the censer, incense, microphones, and the lights. Get everything ready for prayers. This would be a good time for the matins praise to be said as well. And the deacon should be ready with their tonia to be crossed by the priest. As you can see, they are standing. Really, you shouldn't put on the tonia before the priest crosses it and gives you permission to do so. If you should arrive to church a little late because of some circumstances, the priest may still allow you to dress, but what you need to do is get your tonia ready and go wait for the priest to cross your tonia as soon as he is available, and don't get busy with anything else in the church. After the priest crosses your tonia, you will say, "Our Father who art in heaven," and you notice that you will make a half of a matanya or a full matanya, and you will kiss the cross in the hand of the priest, saying, "Absolve me, Father, for I have sinned," and you start putting on your tonia. When you put on your tonia, you need to be saying Psalms 29 and Psalm 92. As soon as the deacons put on their clothes, they need to get ready to start the prayers. There will be 3 times that you light charcoals during the entire liturgy. If you light them at the proper time, you will save a lot of work for the other deacons. The first time you light the charcoal is right now in matins, before the beginning of any prayers. As you can see, the deacon puts on his clothes and he goes to light up the charcoal and the candle lights for the altar. Please go to your liturgy book at this point and go to page 2, the top of the Thanksgiving prayer, and write the following: light altar, candles, and first charcoal. When you are done with the candles, just light the charcoal, and please be quick in this step as it takes the priest very short time to finish the Thanksgiving prayer. On the bottom of page 7, please continue to write, "Bring censer to priest," and below that write, "When done, go around altar 3 times," and we will discuss this as you see it before you. When you bring the censer, please make sure that you offer it to the priest as you see. It's kind of clear. The chains are not in the way. They are not crossing over the bottom half of the censer. The top part of the censer is not in the way of the priest. And the deacon offers it to the priest kind of close to his hand so he doesn't have to reach too far or too close. And be careful when you hand the censer to the priest. Don't hand it to him from the part he needs to get a hold of. When the priest finishes adding incense, he will take the censer from you. At this point, one deacon should take the cross and get ready to go around the altar 3 times. There are silent, inaudible prayers that you should be reciting at this point. You will find them on pages 12, 13, 14, and 15 of your liturgy book. The first time you start moving, you should be saying, "Pray for the peace of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Orthodox Church of God." This is the litany of the peace of the church. The second time, when you move to the other side of the priest, as you can see, you should be saying the response for the prayer of the Pope and the Bishop of the diocese. Also, the third time you move, you should be saying a response regarding the assemblies of the church, and then you will continue the rest of the rounds silently. You need to figure out a mechanism to start counting exactly when you should stop. As you can see, you need to make a full matanya, kiss the cross, kiss the altar, and gently place the cross on the altar. When the priest is done with the censer, he will bring it back to the altar. Please be alert and wait for the priest when he comes back. As soon as the deacons are done with the responses of the symbols, he will need the censer again to continue the prayer. When you take the censer from his hand, don't forget to kiss the hand that touches the body and blood of Christ. The litany prayed at this time will depend on the day and if you are praying Vespers or Matins. Please copy the schedule on a small sheet that will appear on the screen right now. You may pause the video until you're done copying it down. It's important to know where the priest will be for you to be quick in responses and offering the priest incense when necessary. On the bottom of page 19, please write, "Bring incense to priest outside altar." Put incense back on altar when done. By the way, many churches have a royal door and have two side doors. The royal door, which is the central door, should only be reserved for the priest or the bishop to enter into. There are some exceptions when you may enter through the royal door, but make it a habit to exit and enter from the side doors of the altar. While the priest is going around the church after the litanies, there are some public prayers or congregational prayers to be said out loud by the people. Depending on whether you're praying matins or vespers. During vespers, you will be saying, "Graciously, O Lord, accordingly." During matins, you will be saying, "Let us praise with the angels." Regardless of the prayer, whether it's matins or vespers, you'll continue with the prayer of Holy God, Holy Mighty, Holy Immortal. And then you will say, "Our Father who art in heaven." You will follow that by, "Hail to you, O Mother of God." Then you will say the doxologies, the appropriate doxologies for each church. And then you will conclude by saying, "We magnify you, O true Mother of God," and conclude by the creed. And please now turn to page 34. At the bottom of the page write, "Hand priest 3 lit candles with cross." As you can see in the video, after the deacons start the creed, one of the deacons, the altar deacons, will hand the priest 3 lit candles, as you just wrote down, with the cross in preparation for the priest to say, "If noti nainan." On top of page 36, please go ahead and write, "Bring censer and incense outside altar to priest." After the priest is done with that part, bring censer and incense outside altar to priest. Remember to lift your hands up high with the censer so that the priest may reach for the incense and reach it conveniently. Also go to the middle of page 36 in your liturgy book. Write, "Take back candles, cross, incense, and bring out cross and bishara." The bishara is simply a box that contains the 4 gospels inside it. Please remember to use the side doors as we discussed previously. When you finish praying the response, pray concerning the Holy Gospel, go inside altar using the side doors, and wait for the priest to come. When the priest comes, he will hold the cross and bishara with you, and you will walk backwards around the altar 1 time. When the priest stops, kiss the cross, bishara, and hand of the priest. Go back to the corner where you started the 1 backward procession, and you may lift the cross high in the air and say your response, "Stasite mitavovo," and then you kiss the cross and gently place it back on the altar. Bring out 2 lit candles for the reading of the gospel, as you can see. If the deacon reads the Bible, he may hold the bishara over his head. After you read the Bible, kiss it, bow down before the altar, and take the blessing of the priest by kissing his hands. After the gospel reading, the priest will say the litanies. When done, bring the bishara outside the altar and bow down before the altar. The priest will read 3 absolutions, and 2 of them are inaudible, facing the east, and the last one will be facing the congregation. When the priest finishes the 3rd absolution, deacons get up, go to the priest, and kiss the cross, bishara, and hand of priest. Some points regarding the book of hours and praying the psalms. One deacon should start distributing the psalms to everyone in the church. All hours prayed in the church have 12 psalms each. Each hour, for example, 3rd hour, 6th hour, or 9th hour, has 3 psalms reserved for the priest or the bishop to be said. Usually, it's the first psalm and the last psalm, and there's one near the middle. That means you have 9 psalms to distribute to the deacons in the congregation. If you have more than 9 people in the church, you distribute 1 psalm each. When you get to the 10th person, you simply recycle the psalms that you are distributing. If you don't have 9 people in the church at that point, you may assign each person more than one psalm. When the deacon reads the gospel of the hour, you need to go in front of the altar and read it. Again, make sure you finish your psalms first. After you finish it, you bow down in front of the altar and make a matanya. Then go to the priest, kiss the cross and the hand of the priest. Before this next part starts, it's necessary to have already assigned the 4 deacons who are going to serve in the altar. There are usually 4 deacons helping. The 4 deacons may assign between themselves the following. One deacon may be ready to help the priest wash his hands, as you can see. The second deacon will get the holy bread ready. A third deacon will get the wine cruet ready with a candle. And the fourth deacon will get the water cruet ready with a candle. All 4 deacons take their possession during the conclusion prayers of the last hour to be prayed in the church. For example, Saturday, Sunday, we pray usually 3rd and 6th hour. So at the end of the 6th hour prayers, you should start getting in position and taking your places. When the priest washes his hands, he has 3 silent prayers. Therefore, you need to offer the water 3 distinctive times, as you can see here in the video. When the priest is done, please make sure you have a towel handy for the priest to dry his hands and get started. The deacons holding the wine cruet and the water cruet with the candles should form a cross by simply crossing their arms over each other. After the church prays the designated hours, the priest will begin the choosing of the lamb. A deacon holding the holy bread will stand opposite of the priest, as you can see in the video. And the deacon with the wine cruet will stand on the right of the priest. The deacon with the water cruet will stand to the left of the priest. The priest will first uncover the holy bread basket. Next, the priest will reach for the wine cruet to examine it. The priest will offer each deacon around him to examine the cruet and smell it. The priest will first smell it, making sure that it smells good. When you are offered the wine cruet to smell it, if it smells good to you, simply you need to say, good and honored. The priest will cross the cruet and bread and then hand it back to you. After the priest chooses the lamb, he will need access to the wine cruet once more to cross the bread which was chosen and the ones were not. The priest will then cover the unchosen bread. The deacon holding the holy bread basket, make sure it doesn't re-enter the altar. Just simply set it outside in a designated place. The deacon with the water cruet needs to quickly get into the altar, and this might be one of the exceptions in which you may use the royal doors, and you offer the priest the water as he needs. After the priest wraps the lamb and turns around facing the people, the deacons need to form a line behind him. The beginning of the line should really be the deacon who's holding the wine cruet, and after that he should be followed by the deacon with the water cruet. The other 2 deacons can stand in any order they wish. The priest will start going around the altar, and the line of deacons moves with him to complete the circle around the altar. To avoid confusion, you should really decide on who's going to say the response that is to be said during this procession. This response will be found on the bottom of page 84. So please turn to page 84 and kindly write, "Go around behind the priest." After the procession, the deacons holding the wine and water will bring the cruet close to the body or to the lamb that the priest has chosen, as you see in the video. While the priest is making 3 crosses, the altar deacons sing Amen clearly and loudly each time. And the priest will turn and take the wine cruet first during the Thanksgiving prayer. Then the priest will empty the wine in the chalice. After the priest empties the wine in the chalice, he'll take the water next. And then he will empty the water in the chalice and he'll hand you back the cruet. Please, at this point, turn to page 93 and right near the top, light second charcoal. If you remember, we talked about 3 charcoals for the whole liturgy. The first one you light before the beginning of any prayers. The second one you will light at this point before the priest gets ready to cover the altar with what we call the prosperine. Another deacon will get the altar covering ready for the priest and stand ready opposite from the priest. By the way, if there is a bishop praying the liturgy or a fellow priest praying the liturgy, this part is reserved for the priest. All deacons should be waiting on the left-hand side of the altar, as you can see. After covering the altar, the priest will come around. You don't see this in the video because of the altar, but the priest comes around and the deacon should make a matanya to the priest as he is returning the matanya, then kiss the cross and the hand of the priest at this point. Then all deacons must leave the altar, go outside in front of it, and bow down until the priest finishes the absolution of the ministers. As you can see in the video, the deacons are bowed down. When you get up, one deacon needs to quickly get into the altar and bring the censer to the priest. And remember not to use the royal doors at this point. You may use a side door. When you offer the censer, make sure it's open, as you saw in the video before. One deacon should get the cross ready to go around with the priest 3 times. Please go to page 99 and write, get cross ready to go around altar 3 times. This procession is exactly like the one we described earlier, so we're going to go ahead and skip it for now, but you notice on page 99 that there is room for that. Don't forget to bow down in front of the altar after you finish the procession. Kiss the altar and the cross and gently place the cross back on the altar. When the priest comes back to the altar after he finishes giving incense and he has some more inaudible prayers to be said, he'll hand back the censer. Please don't forget to be available for the priest to take the censer from him. Anytime you hand the priest something or take something away from the priest or the bishop, of course, please make sure to kiss the hand of the priest at this point. After reading the Catholic epistle, which is the second reading, the priest will go around the altar 3 times once again. Therefore, go to top of page 111, please, and write, bring censer to priest, go around altar 3 times. This is the same procession that we've covered before, and you simply continue it the same way. The priest will come back and finish the incense steps as usual. He'll hand back the censer and you simply take it in the same manner you've been watching. Get ready for the liturgy gospel reading. This is the same as reading the gospel for vespers and matins. Bring the censer to the priest. Take the cross and bishara. Remember, that's the metal box with the 4 gospels inside it. And go behind priest. Also remember to use the side altar entries as we mentioned. After saying the response, go inside the altar and wait for the priest. Go around altar 1 time backwards with the priest. When the priest stops, go to the corner where you started the procession after kissing the cross and the hand of the priest and the gospel or the bishara as well. Take only the cross with you. Hold the cross high in the air and sing the response. Kiss the cross and gently place it back on the altar. The altar deacons are also responsible for the 2 candle lights that should be lit during the reading and taken out of the altar to the podium where the gospel reading is going to be. After the Holy Bible reading is completed and the sermon has been completed also, the priest will pray the litanies on page 132. So please turn with me to the appropriate pages and we're going to write some numbers down to make it easier for you to follow along. Turn to page 132 and near the part where it says priest, write number 1 and circle it. And go to page 133 and write the number 2 and circle it. Again, next to the priest's part. Page 135, write number 3 and circle it. Page number 36, near the bottom where it says priest part, write number 4 and circle it. And go to the middle of page 138 and write number 5 and circle it. If you could also turn back to page number 137, please, and write down, bring censer to priest at this point. Not all the way at the bottom, but just near the bottom. If you follow the rubrics, it will say that the priest will offer incense at this point. After the priest finishes using the censer, he will hand it back to you. Hold the cross up and sing the response on page 141 in the Wisdom of God. En Sophia Theo Bros Chomen. This is the beginning of the creed. So this is a sign for the congregation in the church to start the reply. The deacon should do a matanya in return for the priest at this point, as he is making 1 matanya for the altar and 1 matanya for the congregation. And the priest will go and wash his hands 3 times, as you can see in the video. He will turn to the people and then come back for the towel. Please be ready with that. All deacons should take their places around the altar and get ready for their reconciliation prayer. You should really be in place before the priest comes to the altar and start the prayers. It's also wise to design some kind of a system between you 4 deacons who are going to serve an altar. That way you're not too preoccupied with the hand motions or trying to figure out whose turn it is to sing the next response. For example, you can pick someone of the deacons and start with that person and then go clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't really matter. But you know when your turn is coming up. Also try to avoid doubling up on responses. Sometimes if the response is short, the notion is go ahead and sing the next response too. But this throws off the turns. So if you stick to one response per person in a manner of a circular way, a clockwise like I mentioned or counterclockwise, this will cut down on the distractions and also frees you up to really devote your liturgy time for prayers. Also, it might be nice to make certain assignments before, again, you start the liturgy. Maybe the person on the left-hand side of the priest immediately to his left should be responsible for flipping the pages and also reminding people if they forget when their turn is. The person after him on the left side of the priest could be responsible for the candles. The deacon on the other side from him, which would be the far right, the priest could be responsible for the charcoal, lighting up the charcoal, making sure the censer is adequately lit. And the 4th deacon immediately to the right of the priest could be in charge of bringing the censer at the appropriate time. Any kind of system like that will assist you in less distractions again and just making you enjoy the prayers more. And please go to the top of page 146 and write stand with cross across from priest. At this point, hold the cross, wait for the priest to finish first part of the reconciliation prayers, and then you may sing your response, pray concerning the peace, and so on. Help the priest pick up the covering off of the altar and have another deacon assist you in folding it back. Start folding the cover with another deacon at this point. Go to bottom of page 146 at this point and please write light 3rd charcoal. The deacon responsible for the charcoal goes and lights 1 charcoal, as you can see in the video. The timing of lighting this charcoal is crucial because it allows the priest to have a healthy incense at the time hand over the censer, and that eliminates the need for you to blow in the censer trying to create more incense, and sometimes you are actually blowing some of the ashes into the paten where the body of the Lord is. Please go to middle of page 157 and write bring censer to priest. Make sure you offer the open bottom half of the censer to the priest at this point. Please go to top of page 159 and write bring censer to priest. Bring the open censer to the priest at this point and be careful not to have anything interfering with top of the open circle. Please note that you will bring the censer unusually close to the priest at this time, as you can see on the video, and that's because the priest needs to simply access the incense coming out of the censer. As you can see, he's washing his hands and then he's bringing some of the incense on the top of the lamb and the wine. Please go to page 159 and write light candles. Please go to bottom page 164 and write bow down near the deacon reply when the deacon simply says worship God in fear and trembling. Go to bottom of page 166 and write get up and put out candles. Go to top of page 180 and write bring censer to priest. This is a time of mentioning the reposed. Please bring the censer to the priest at this time. If there are names to be mentioned out loud, the priest will need to put more incense after the congregation finishes the reply. If there aren't any names to be mentioned, you will simply return the censer back to where you brought it from. And now please go to bottom page 186 and write light candle and worship. Simply meaning you bow down after you light the candle. Go to bottom page 187 and write get up and keep candle lit. Please go to bottom page 190 and write bow down with candle lit. And also turn to middle of page 197 and simply write get up. You need to know that there are different fractions to be sung during the different seasons of the year in the church. It would be nice to figure out which fraction the priest is going to use before the liturgy and have it ready for him at this time. This is the part where the deacon is going to say the confession. You need to go to top of page 200 and please write the following. Bring communion mouth covering, which is what we call lefafa. You'll bring that, so please write that on top of the page. Cross and candle. The cross will be on your right hand side and the candle will be on the left hand side. The other three deacons, they will simply worship. So right below that, near the top of page 200, bow down. And the deacon sings the confession while holding the cross in the right hand and the candle in the left hand, as you can see. The deacons get up after the confession is completed, and then the deacons should stand in line to receive the Holy Communion at this time. A deacon serving in the altar should be the first to take communion. All deacons should take communion before the congregation. The proper way to receive the body is to open your mouth and have your head slightly tilted backwards so the priest can simply insert the body in your mouth. Cover your mouth with the mouth covering, again, which is what we call lefafa. After the priest finishes giving communion to the deacons, he goes to give communion to the rest of the congregation. The deacon who said the confession should walk backwards in front of the body and go around the altar one time, counterclockwise. If you approach the altar, you should go from the right side and then make a complete circle coming out from the left side. Then the deacon stands next to the priest, guarding the holy body. When the priest goes away from the altar to give communion, another deacon needs to light a candle and stand in front of the blood until the priest comes back to distribute the blood as well. When the priest finishes distributing the holy body, he returns to the altar. The priest will then completely finish consuming the holy body with the deacons. A deacon should bring a large towel to the priest so he may wash the altar set after finish distributing the blood as well. While the priest is taken off the altar dressing, a deacon should be on the other side of the priest, immediately folding them. The deacon who said the confession should keep the mouth covering along with the cross and candle until the body is consumed. Then the deacon will only carry the cross and the candle. When the priest is ready for the holy blood, he will need help opening the throne. As you can see the deacons in the video opening the throne. After the priest takes the chalice, the throne needs to be covered again. As you can see, the deacons immediately covering the throne. When you take the holy blood, you shouldn't have anything in your hands, not a mouth covering or anything. And you simply put your lips together and sip a little bit from the mysterion or the spoon that the priest is offering you. And the proper way is to have your both hands behind your back. That way you're not in the way of the priest and you're not touching the chalice accidentally. And the priest will begin washing the altar set after he's finished distributing the blood. He may need help burning any foreign objects that may have gotten into the paten, such as hair or incense by accident. The best way to get rid of that is to light a candle and let it get hot and then turn out the candle, and then the priest will simply attach the piece of hair or whatever that got in the paten by mistake, and it will stick because of the heat, and then you immediately take the candle and you relight it again, therefore burning the foreign object, which is the proper way to dispose of. The priest will first wash the chalice and drink its water, and then he might wash the dome, followed by the mysterion. There is really no specific order to do this. The priest will then thoroughly wash the paten and his hands. Then he will give the altar deacons water to drink after he's done with the washing of the vessels. The deacon will then pour a little bit of water in a paten. The priest will conclude with 2 inaudible prayers. Then he will need the water container or the water cruet to throw water among the congregation in the church. The deacon should start finishing up drying the altar set and finishing up folding at this point, and also get ready to wash the priest's hands for the last and final time.
No Prosevexas tiber tuagio evangelio, estasi te